Can we get a couple partial zooms on that, please, on the
Yeah,
concave side?
Sure thing. Go ahead there, Jeff. Just fly over it. That's awesome. Thank you.
It's ginormous.
Yeah. It's a very scientific term. Ginormous.
It's part of our sponge scale.
Yeah.
Sorry, ginormous centimeters.
Oh,
Thanks, Jess.
yeah, sure thing.
Great.
All right. Full wide, please.
So it seems like maybe we're on the top of this feature now. Rennie, would you agree?
Yes, one more step. 50 meters, bearing 160. Thank you. Sorry about that, Beth.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's too much in Argus. Kind of. Yeah, I think we're relatively at the top. And start.
We'll come back down in a little saddle maybe, and then
Yeah.
start getting
Actually,
into.
yeah, this is looking pretty good, and I might want to do a Niskin water sample because there looks to be a little community up here that is has good representation. So maybe we can park right next to these corals or right on top of them, you know, a couple meters off bottom, and pop a Niskin sample.
How many meters would you like?
This is perfect altitude right here. Yeah.
Right. So 2 meter altitude.
Yeah.
Roger that.
Right here.
It should be fine. Argus has no obstacles.
Roger.
I'm going to keep turning the
This is
camera.
going to be sample 161.
161.
And all bottles are open.
I'm guessing most of our viewers have seen this a number of times at this point, but those Niskin bottles are open cylinders on the side mounted to Hercules.
Yeah, the porch lights.
The porch light is technically on. Yeah. You'll just have to turn up the gain, I think, there. Thanks, Jeff.
Which one?
Any of them?
Any of them.
All right.
Looks like 6 is bent behind. You can go for any other one.
Oh, yeah.
I got you on Argus here.
You got Argus.
Look at the view in your quad window. You can see the tops of those Niskins.
Nice. Go ahead.
There you go.
Fired.
Bottle 4 fired.
Number 4.
Nicely done. That was at a 2 meter altitude when it was fired. Nice.
Looks like kind of a big block over there on the left.
Jake, you want to wrist left some when you get a chance? On
Mongo?
Mongo.
Jess, if we have a moment, I know we just called in a ship's move. Could we go over towards this block here? I just want to get a sense of what these rocks are looking like.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's see. Nice. That'll be much better for the view.
Doesn't look really like there's anything to sample, though. It's all very attached.
I think this is the, I don't know why I have this random thought, but it's the first cruise I've been on ever in December.
Oh, interesting. There's a big sea star coming into view.
Oh, yeah.
Had to write down the date for the sampling.
Are we writing it down in UTC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's December 1st.
For
somewhere
those
else.
of you viewers in Tomorrowland.
Go ahead and push on in there a bit, please.
So, yeah, can we get the lasers on briefly
Yes.
so we can get a size? Thank you.
Yeah,
Great shot.
This is a type of slime star in the Pterasteridae family.
Such a sad name. Slime star. Just sounds kind of sad.
I would like that as a defense.
I think this is actually one in the genus Pteraster with a PT, silent P. One of those silent
there's
letter
another sea star up ahead.
animals. There's another sea star actually on the rock there too, which is looks more like a goniasterid.
Do you want to go look at it?
Different family. Yeah, if we could.
Yeah, can we swing by that, Jess?
We'll just swing by real quick.
Yeah.
Only because it's a coral predator.
The sea star has no value otherwise.
Poor sea
Just
star.
want to know what's in the area, that's all. Know your neighbors.
Go ahead and do a quick zoom there, please.
Just Stichopathes off to the right.
Yeah, it's a nice goniasterid.
So spiky.
Great.
Some of the things that our scientists ashore
Thank you.
will be looking at are the spine arrangements and plate arrangements on these goniasterids for identification purposes.
It's still fine. It's still going.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Ernie.
Yeah.
So for our viewers at home in Channel 3, you're getting a bird's eye view over the pilots, seeing how they're maneuvering, both Argus and Herc as we're on the move.
Just going to gain up because it looks like that slope is.
Some very large sponges off to our right as we're moving through this field here on the top of this little knoll feature.
Wow, those 4.
Yeah. It's like they're standing watch.
Seems so wise.
Yeah.
Can we get the lasers on briefly?
Yes.
Thank you, Jake.
Oh, sorry. The wrong one.
Giant satellite dish.
Wow, look at that.
Hit the wrong one.
Not the lights, the lasers.
Thank you.
They're massive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
huge.
really, really big. It's almost like a sponge henge.
I was just trying to say that.
Oh, really? Funny.
Very cool. I love these large sponges. They're incredible.
The one on the right's like, what, a couple of meters?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a large satellite dish.
Yeah, it really
the
is.
same thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if they get direct TV down here.
Attenuation of RF and water. No.
Yeah. Seems to really set up in the current.
Yeah.
Right.
They're kind of in a circle. I can see sponge henge being a thing.
You got that one in your butt there, but it
Yeah.
should be all right. You're fine. Far away.
All right. Probably a little too late on this since we gotta keep moving, but next time we see these big sponges, we're getting a request from some scientists ashore to look at some of the, towards the base, there's some maybe other critters we want to get a look at.
Roger that. Push myself out a little here.
All right, yeah, so it looks like we're coming down from this knoll feature. Maybe come down into a saddle and then start heading back up on this ridge.
Wow.
Steve, we have a question about how sponges and coral get along. Are they always happy together?
You know, wish I went for that invertebrate psychology degree. But
You're on a roll tonight, sir. Sorry.
nice.
It's never too late.
I can make.
Maybe you could just start the class
as I go along. Yeah.
You said to look at the base here. We have.
Yeah, we're getting some clarification. Then I got that wrong. It wasn't at the base of the sponges. It was somewhere else. So we'll keep looking.
Okay.
Well, when we have a second, I can explain a little bit more about the question.
Yeah, and Steve, if you can help interpret.
All clear?
Yeah.
Corals and sponges. Yeah, so there are a few instances that I'm thinking of where actually there are some pretty interesting symbioses that go on between some corals and sponges. In the cases, there's some stoloniferous corals that actually grow in and parasitize sponges. So I would say that it's probably not getting along too well for the sponge, perhaps. You know, could potentially clog the flow of water, but you know the coral gets something out of it because they have some skeleton or some three-dimensional structure that they can adhere to. But you know, stoloniferans don't produce their own skeleton anyway. There's a good example from this region of a black coral that lives in a sponge and kind of grows up and out of the sponge and grows branches.
We saw that maybe on an earlier dive, didn't we?
Could be, yeah. Yeah, it's local to this region around Hawaii. But, you know, there's other types of relationships like with zoanthids and sponges too are actually quite common. Although not corals per se, the zoanthids often parasitize sponges.
Cool, thanks.
But it's shallower, though you can find corals and sponges actually growing on top of each other. That's not uncommon. I'm thinking of one I sampled, a demo sponge from the Caribbean a few years ago that was actually growing around a stony coral. So they kind of encapsulate each other in some cases.
Just real quick, so we're coming to the end of that move. Do we want to continue on, or did I hear about looking at sponge stuff?
No, I think we want to continue our trajectory. Thanks, Rennie.
Sure.
Still no fish. On the midnight to 4 a.m. shift, there was some really great fish action on the that ridge feature we were on to the southeast of Tamana Seamount. Got to see a chaunacops swimming around.
Ooh, so they actually swim.
Yeah, really cool. They like move in the middle. Yeah, I don't know. It's really cool to watch.
Yeah, it's a shame. There's a shallower relative in the same family called chaunax that I know some folks have probably seen. You saw a picture of it, but it just doesn't get this deep. We saw it quite a bit in 2019 in the Pacific Remote Islands, but it has an equally sour-looking disposition.
Yeah.
But yeah, chaunax, a neat fish. I think it's also called a coffin fish. Don't know where that comes from. Yeah, coffin fish.
Oh, okay. Maybe person related to describing it is named coffin.
This is why common names are unsuitable, because often fish can refer to an entire family.
Yeah.
One of the most egregious examples of inappropriate common name usage is the word rockfish, which literally means thousands of different fishes all over the world are called rockfish.
And they all look so similar. Identifying rockfish is like, good luck.
Yeah, West Coast rockfish is not even closely related in some cases to the East Coast rockfish, but just what people call them. Another one is redfish. Redfish is very different parts of the world.
Snappers.
Yep. There's some Remulogorgia though. Haven't seen that in a few days. We're seeing a lot more of these I4 clade bamboos too. These candelabra type branching bamboo corals.
Yeah, the density is a little bit lower as we're moving down into the saddle. Still mostly looks like sheets here, not big pillow basalts like we've seen on some of the other seamounts of this expedition.
Maybe we're too shallow. Maybe we have to go down the slopes to see, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if once we start getting up on this steeper part up to the southeast of us, if it'll start looking a little different.
If you, yeah, I didn't look at the bathymetry, but were there any obvious failures in this site, or is it just?
It's a good question. When Rennie was showing us the view in HYPACK of this seamount, which has a really interesting ridge shape, it almost looks like a compass rose. Wasn't seeing obvious slump failure scars, but maybe there's some.
It's kind of hard to tell. It would have to be like a macro-sized slope failure.
Jeff, could you show Rennie's computer, please?
The MB proc.
Yeah, so now in channel 3, our lower left side of the quad, you can see a view of the multi-beam bathymetry data of the seamount that we're diving on. So yeah, no real obvious wall failures or fan debris below. But the ridge does get steeper very shortly. So maybe we'll see a slightly different rock configuration.
Yeah, we're just starting to see now in Argus sonar that slight slope rise there ahead of us.
Yep, I do see that.
Makes sense. It's about 100 meters out.
Yeah. Rennie, could you narrate for our audience at home, since they're seeing the sonar view in channel 3, what Argus and Herc are seeing?
Sure. So on the left side of the screen, that circle is Argus's scanning sonar. It's off the bottom of the vehicle, and it kind of scans around and sends out acoustic pulse, and any returns that it gets back show up as brighter. So the color ramp there is like blue to yellow. There might even be pink at the extreme portion, if I remember right. And those red rings represent 20 meters away from Argus. On the right, that's Hercules scanning sonar. It's mounted on top of Hercules and has those red rings represent 10 meters out from that sonar. And same, you can see, obviously Hercules is right up on the ground and has this slope to the right. And you can see that represented there in the sonar. And the top of the screen for both vehicles is the way that the vehicle is facing. So as the vehicles turn, the features around it will kind of spin around as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Must really be in this little depression here. Now I feel like I've gained up too much. We've gained too much and lost nothing.
Oh, slightly different texture here.
Botryoidal? Small?
Oh, I was talking about the stuff coming up on our left.
Oh, okay.
The sheet flow almost looks the same as when we started the dive. It definitely has a botryoidal texture when you zoom in on it. But this almost looks like a little talus coming from somewhere. Maybe from the little knoll we were just on. Doesn't seem to be good habitat for anchoring organisms here. Basically no signs of life attached to these rocks.
Just going to keep going 160, I think.
Okay, that sounds good.
So is this sediment
right
here, or is it, I can't tell if it has any depth to it.
Yeah, I can't tell. Jess, can you maybe get a little closer?
Yeah, sure thing.
That might be interesting if, maybe some of these things are just very small nodules, or if there's sorting going on here.
You want me to sit down?
Yeah, why not? Okay. If we have time.
Yeah, sure. Let me just pop over here. All right, Jeff, go ahead and push on in there, please.
It looks like gravel.
Yeah, these don't really look like nodules per se. They're too angular. A lot of them are angular. Some of them are more rounded, so. This doesn't look to me like the little nodule fields we were seeing on some of the other seamounts. It looks more just like a debris flow. Okay, thanks, Jess.
Oh, please.
But I'm not an expert.
Whatever it is, it's very extensive. Maybe this is, I would expect if the slope was steepening sufficiently where there was, you
yeah, we're coming
expect
up
to
on
see
the slope
more,
right now.
yeah, more substantial talus, but maybe if it's intact and sheet flows are not very cracked, it wouldn't yield a lot of talus. Oh, some here.
Yeah, there's some. I think there's some on both of the sides, right? And so what's just accumulating in the saddle is the fines that make it all the way down there. All right, let's keep our eyes peeled for anything that looks like nice intact and broken boulders. But again, this looks like it's probably an area that sees some movement, so we're not seeing a lot of attached organisms here. It's not a great place to make a living.
Looks like a bamboo coral there. One of the few branched ones we've seen.
Do you want to get a partial zoom on that?
Yeah, maybe just partial.
Yeah, if we could just have a look at that. Steve, I'm going to hand over directing to you. I need to step out of the van for a moment.
Yeah, it is a bamboo. Very similar to the one we saw earlier. Nodal branching.
And you can clock nodal branching from that far out.
Yeah.
Oh, now I see it a bit closer to the base.
Yeah, it kind of has this like trichotomous branching, it's called, where in this one at the node you get, I guess, 3 branches, 2 off of the sides and 1 off through the top. I don't know if that would be accurate, but similar to something we've seen previously that did that. All right, great, thanks.
Make up some ground here real quick.
Yeah, starting to go up slope.
Yeah, and there's more sediment here too. Yeah.
It's obviously like stretching hour. Everybody's standing up here.
Look on sat feed 3. You can see the entire van standing and stretching. Now somebody lead us in a rousing rendition of Take Me Out to the Ballpark.
Go for it, Jeff.
No way. You do not want to hear me sing.
Where did all the animals go?
Yeah.
They don't like the northeast side.
Is the current not as strong here either? Seems
Current's a little stronger here.
Before we got up here, it was at least
We can see.
feeling like it was coming from the south or southeast. I don't know how it feels up where we are now.
Yeah.
Seems like we're kind of drifting to the left. Yeah, so maybe still southeast.
Yeah. It's pulling from right to left here, so it's pulling to the east, yeah. This little wall feature. One fish, first fish of the dive.
oh. Little guy.
Little small, bitty guy. He's really going in that current there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what's going on here? Or maybe all the animals are going to be at the top?
Maybe.
See this feature that Herc's climbing up continues up a bit. Argus.
Yeah.
Big flow.
Yeah.
Globular.
Couple little corals here. There's a fan off to the right. What is this camera? Okay, I was like, what are we looking at here? Looking at my ear.
Oh, it's the, yeah, no one can see it.
I don't think it's going out.
That's the web interaction monitor.
Yeah, I know. No one can see it, but I can see it.
It's actually, it's watching the telestar.
Okay.
Yeah, this current really has picked up pretty well.
Oh.
Yeah, are you feeling more push?
Oh, yeah.
Jessica, before we move up. Can we just get a partial zoom on these? I think they're those barnacles again, but I'd just like to look at them again.
Sure thing.
Yeah, those are looking like the same barnacles we saw earlier.
Go ahead, Jeff.
One of them's out. Yeah, they're both feeding. Thanks.
Yep, sure thing.
So all the colonies on this slope are a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, except for a couple of things we've seen, like that white sponge with all the brown stuff on it.
Yeah, it seems the flat areas are best for large things.
Yeah, at least here on this seamount.
It's kind of unusual to see that. Usually there seems to be more wraparound current with these types of features, but maybe since, I don't know, the slope is so smooth that it doesn't accelerate enough to really have a lot of large coral biomass attached, or could be a supply issue too. But there's clearly some bathyes getting here. I don't think we've seen this many bathyes at any other site. It's kind of interesting how every site has their characteristic single species. There is a good diversity, but I remember the first couple dives, it was all this white Remulogorgia, Chrysogorgid colonies, and then last night we had the massive Hemicorallium gardens and the black coral gardens. Very patchy patterns.
Jess and Jake, do you think it's possible to kind of pick up a little bit off the wall and kind of look to the right and left? And also we can do the same with Argus, just to see if there looks like anything off to our sides that we're missing.
Sure.
Like I'm wondering if we're just in a shadow here on this side of the ridge and it's just not a great spot. But yeah, it's just like sheer sheet flow over there and crumbly bits. Not much going on. Thanks. We maybe look left.
A little look left as well.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Yeah, sure thing. Come up a little bit there, Jake, too. Looks like it just continues to rise to the left there.
Yeah. Okay, well, we can keep on our trajectory. Thank you.
Roger.
And as we're going along, because it does seem that there's a little bit more sediment accumulation on this side than we saw on the previous flat spot. If we see significant patches of sediment, might want to spend a little bit of time looking at them and see if there's any evidence of like a trail of an organism.
Okay.
Indicating feeding for one of our scientists ashore.
Sure thing.
So just something to keep our eye out for.
Roger that.
The holothurian. Couple of small corals.
Steve, do you have any estimate on the size of the largest sponge we've seen in the last 24 hours or so?
I would say I don't know the exact one and where we saw it, but we've seen at least a meter diameter sponges, yeah, possibly close to 1.5 meters. I think the last site had maybe, I mean, there's some pretty big sponges here, but I feel like the previous site might have had a couple of them that were.
Well, and the last site had those cool ones that had cave sides on both sides. Like it was like sometimes current's great this way, sometimes current's great that way.
Yeah, this site is different in that they tended to take on these satellite dish, circular shapes. The other site was more traditional, kind of like, they look often like mittens or something, like a big glove-shaped colony with concave sides.
Did we ever hear anything from Chris about his thoughts on those ones that we thought looked like big piles of soap bubbles?
Yes, I did mention that to him. He said he thinks he knows what they are.
Okay.
And it was something new recently described, but we didn't sit down and talk about it in front of photos, so let's take his word for it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is a kind of demo sponge, or a kind of glass sponge. I think it was a euplectellid.
Hang on there, guys.
It's waving goodbye.
Very unexpected.
So for anybody who's just recently joined the stream, do we want to look at, do we think this is a cup coral or an anemone?
That's an anemone.
Okay.
That's
yeah.
Pormathiid, I think they're the family.
Anyway, as I was saying, for anybody who's joined us recently, welcome. We are exploring the Ho'oika seamount to the southern extent of this chain of seamounts, ancient volcanoes that we've been exploring as part of the Lu'uaea Ahiki Ika Kapapaku. I think I added one more ka in there. This expedition of the exploration vessel Nautilus to understand the animals living on these ancient volcanoes and also to try to figure out the age of these ancient volcanoes and how they formed. And so we're exploring the seamount for the first time. We saw quite a bit more animal life on the seafloor, a little bit further to our northwest. And as we've been summiting this feature, just doesn't seem very great conditions for those animals. They're definitely in lower density, not as big.
A barnacle in the center of the screen.
Yep. Yeah, every now and then we see one of those.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it seems like the flow conditions are strong here, but nothing's attaching here. Good flow conditions, good other variables, oxygen's fine. Substrate maybe, oh, maybe it's a sediment issue.
I'm kind of tempted to change our trajectory more east to kind of get on the northern side, northeastern side of this. Because if
sure, I'm zooming out
if
a
this
bit.
sediment is coming over the top of the seamount and depositing, maybe it's coming from this way. Although we've seen the flow coming from this way on this side. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I think so. Flow is coming from the west side, right?
Yeah.
That's what we said.
Well, at least it was up there.
Yeah.
I think flow is coming from the east,
still is.
wasn't it?
I thought you said going towards the east. Because right now it looks like it's coming from the right-hand side of the screen, so that would be your west, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right.
It is pretty stagnant.
Well, I guess, yeah, we could also try just moving more southward. See if things change a little bit. I don't know. Because we're not getting much on this trajectory. Rennie, do you mind zooming out on HYPACK a little bit so I can see kind of the end goal?
Yeah, and we can any one of the paths you just mentioned we can do. Terrain's not too terrible here. There we go. That's the whole path, so we've actually covered quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that included 2 hours of descent. Or 1 hour of descent, sorry, 1 hour.
Yeah, okay. Why don't we try that? Why don't we try heading a little more south?
Okay.
Instead of this southeast.
You see that? We'll just be like,
yeah, kind of following a contour for a little bit.
Contour, yeah.
And then maybe come up over that top part.
Sure. We'll just go, probably just due south.
Okay.
Got a ship move just taking us in that direction, 160. And I'll just adjust to 180 once we're there.
Roger.
And still keeping my eyes peeled for some good representative rocks, but these all look really altered. I don't think it's quite what we want for the dating and composition part of this project.
So the eastern ridge looks very interesting off of this seamount. Did anyone see the contours on that?
Say it again?
The eastern ridge, if we zoom out on HYPACK again, I was just looking at the bathymetry for the eastern ridge on the south side.
Talking about this right here?
Yeah, that's a wicked.
Ready, Jake?
Oh yeah, the south side?
Steep.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know how much of that. I'd have to look at the data if that's
yeah.
What do you call it? Just a artifact. Or it could be real.
It's got some interesting features, this seamount.
Yeah, this one, I mean, when you zoom out and look at it in inflator mouse, it almost has like right angles to the ridge features. All right, we're swapping out our Argus and Hercules pilots. Jake, before you pick up, could we just get a partial zoom?
Yes, just straight ahead. Is there anything
on
particular?
this?
Okay.
Kind of seeing the sediment and the rock. Just so, yeah, it's got this weird platey look to it. I just kind of
zoom in there,
get...
Jeff.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, weird. Very altered looking.
All right.
Thank you.
Still 160 for now.
Roger.
Another 30 meters for Argus.
Roger that.
Botryoidal texture on these
Go ahead and get
sheets.
up there, Jake.
Yeah, you might want to jet up and ahead, catch up a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, with slopes like this and the current will keep you out in front there.
Yeah, for the viewers noting the 8 o'clock end time, that is a typo in the status that I'm not able to edit at the moment because I don't have access.
Yeah, we've been having some satellite connectivity issues today, so some of our ability to keep on top of our updates has been a little bit delayed. Thanks for your patience with us. I think it's also delaying when we get chat messages. They're not coming in real time. Kalamehu, I'm curious if, so now you're on your 13th deep sea dive as a core explorer. Have you seen what you thought you would see?
For sure. I mean, this is my very, very, very first time on an expedition like this, so I had no idea what to expect. But definitely coming away with a lot of new experiences, new knowledge, maybe some new ideas. Not going to check on those right now, but yeah, maybe for sure for later. But it's been a very educational and interesting experience for sure.
Oh, fish. Can we have a partial zoom on that?
It's a cusk eel.
What are the appendages at the bottom that are touching the ground? What are those called?
Called the ventral spines.
Okay.
So modified, modified fins. They actually look really closely. They have little tiny fins. It's just the closest spines are elongated.
Thank you. Thanks, Jake and Jeff.
So we're going to go south in Argus. If you look, it's going to kind of cross cut. It's not going to be like lateraling along the slope, at least at first, until we get, it's going to change as we get around here.
Okay.
Seeing some black trails on the side of the rock. Indication of something moving around, feeding on the side of the rock. So we're just gone slightly shallower than 1900 meters as we're coming up on the side of Ika seamount. Are on the hunt for the sweet spot where the high density of animals are. Steve, I see you taking some notes over there. What are you recording?
Just making an update every few minutes about what corals we're seeing, what sponges we're seeing in the view. So just a couple of black corals, really. 3 black corals, kind of a Trissopathes looking thing, Bathypathes and Stauropathes in the area, but kind of not very impressive at the moment.
Roger.
This is when we need an octopus to show up to wake us all up.
Roger that.
How's the flying, Jake? Are you feeling any current pushing on the vehicle?
There's a little bit. I think the same we were feeling before.
Yeah, okay.
This little sea star. Is that a...
Oh yeah, off in the background.
Is that on a rock or is it predating?
Can we have a partial zoom on that?
Yeah.
Looks like it might be on the coral.
Zoom in there, Jeff.
Yeah, it looks like it's hanging on the coral there.
Yeah, this is a goniasterid star grazing on this, looks like a hemicorallium colony, former hemicorallium
Yeah, it doesn't
colony.
look like it's doing so great.
Yeah.
Is that worm you were talking about just dead ahead next to the...
No, that's something else though. That's an
right
aplicophoran.
There's 2 of them.
It's a type of shellless mollusk.
Aplicophoran.
Yeah, they are also coral predators. So you've got like at least 2 different predators on here, and they're kind of just going to town on this colony.
Yeah, it's like a buffet.
And you've got this Ophiocanthid. The Ophiocanthids have a long spine, yeah.
Gotta catch up a bit.
Long spines on the arms.
Thanks.
Big
Oh, that's a
crinoid
very
there.
pretty crinoid. Yeah, great. Thanks, Jake. I know you gotta catch up.
But what's surprising to me is that there are, usually if this area supported corals at one time, you would see holdfasts, right? But we don't really even see that in this area. It's still pretty sparse, which suggests that this just isn't a great area.
Right. Never has been.
It has not ever been a great area for corals or sponges. Maybe a little bit higher, but just not right here. We're still seeing a fair amount of sponge debris.
Mm-hmm.
that purple crinoid has more white on it.
It's hard to remember to blink while watching this. I'm realizing my eyes are getting very dry. Don't want to miss anything. A couple more corals here. Looks like a bamboo coral maybe off to the top left. Looks like there's a sponge. If you were to pivot right, Jake, it looks like there's a sponge over there. The Argus view. Yeah. So maybe we're coming into a better zone.